All right, y'all. It's Kyle Rose, Ham TV here. I'm excited, happy. So I played this qualifier on Arena, this historic qualifier thing, and it's pretty bummed. Day one, I went 7-1, lost round one, won seven in a row. Day two, started off 6-0. I'd won 13 rounds in a row. Lose my last two rounds, kind of devastated, A little down on Magic. Just felt, kind of crushed. Here's the deck I played. So a little bit later, I saw there was some kind of an exploit that people could use where if they lost, they could just enter the event again. Guy I played in round seven, day two, was like, I just didn't understand like how he could have ever played the deck he played. It just didn't make any sense to me. Like it was another blue white deck, but it just had like it was just completely set up to beat control, which I didn't understand. I felt like something was weird. I said, maybe something weird happened to me. Got an email today. Sure enough, somebody had played again that I played against, so they are granting me a qualification. So I'm super stoked. I know some people in my chat when I stream today over on Twitch. They're gonna be asking me about it. I don't want to keep mentioning it, so I'm going to make this little video that I can link them to, and anybody can see it. Never done anything like this, exactly like this before. Do like maybe, like a little tournament report, but I don't like to write, so I'll just talk about some stuff here. So I've been playing Historic maybe like a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, partly because the draft formats were stale, partly because I knew I had this qualifier coming up, and really blue white's a deck that suits me. I kind of comfortable with it, and deck that I've played kind of my whole life, decks like this from time to time. So I started there, and really it was the deck I was winning with the most. And then when the Mythic Championship happened, everything, the metagame just shifts so much, and I really just wasn't winning much anymore with it. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of variance because I almost don't feel like I changed but so much, but I just I wasn't winning. So, I kind of tried all the top decks, all the decks that did well there, all kinds of other stuff. And I mean, I was losing with everything, and I didn't start. You can't get the thing about a tournament like that is this qualifier is like 2 days after that tournament. Everything's going to change. You can't even really prepare for it. So I only had like 2 days, anyways. It takes me a while to get comfortable with the deck. There's no way I was going to learn how to play a Jund deck, that Jund Sacrifice deck in time. So, I'm trying some of these other decks and I'm flundering around with them. I'm not doing great. And I went from like a decent mythic rate, something reasonable, to like 92% or something. Like I just lost every match for 2 days. So it's like 4 or 5 in the morning, I've given up. Basically, I have a goblins deck that I can play, that I'm happy with the list. I mean, as happy as I'm going to be. And I'm like, this is my fallback. I'm like, but let me at least look at blue white. Let me see what I can do. See if I just build it the way I think it will work against these decks. Play a few games, see how it feels. And I did that, and I won those games, and it felt pretty good. I said, all right, well, I'm going to go get my 4 hours of sleep or whatever. And, when I wake up, I'll just decide if I feel like I can play this blue white deck or I want to play the goblins deck or whatever. Woke up, felt all right, I'm like, I'm gonna play this blue white deck, Only difference, day one, I had this sensor, I had an extra sensor, one less scatter, and I had one less timely, and I had that stupid X spell that you can gain life or kill enchantments because I had trouble with Trail of Crumbs one time. I didn't think anybody was gonna play it, but I put it in anyways. So, day one I play, round one I lose to goblins. I'd gone through, I think, like, I had 30 cards in my deck. I'd used 2 full Narsets, and I couldn't find a Wrath. It felt like a horrible beat to lose the game, but I lost. But then I won 7 in a row, fairly easily. I think I played against a Bant deck, but my draws were pretty good, Bant control. Other than that, it was all decks that, like, I was ready for. 3 cages main, 1 more in the board, and 4 rest in peace, which I didn't even board in all of unless I was playing against the red-black deck, the Salvato deck. Like against the Jund Coco deck, I'd go up to 4 cage and like 2 rest in peace, that kind of thing. And it just, the games weren't close. Now, that's kind of my other thing I wanted to do with this tournament is like, I figured, got to run good. Um, I'm no world beater at historic. Like I played enough. I finished like top 50 or something the month before on the ladder, which doesn't mean much, but I could compete at least with those kind of players. Um, but I still didn't. I still wanted to skew my deck so that it could have great matchups, and I could just kind of have that happen. And day one, that's exactly what happened. I did feel like I wanted to tweak a little bit more against goblins. The way they sideboarded, I hadn't played a whole lot. They're bringing in all the ringleaders and stuff, so the timelies felt better than I thought they would be, and I wanted extra essence scatter. So I changed, like, it doesn't sound like much, but like if I didn't have that second timely, I lose one of those matches on day two. So it definitely mattered. I don't think this is a deck you can really play exactly like this without changing a few cards going forward. One thing about the deck, I like this Fabled Passage. It's never came up where they had a Mayhem Devil out and it affected me. I want the extra basic for all these castles, but I don't know if I want it to be. It wouldn't be white. It'd have to be blue. I haven't got punished by it yet, so I still like the one. Other than that, with all the goblins and the Jund decks having so few threats that matter, I like the extra hard counter here. But the real thing was just playing a bunch of Narsets, which I always kind of did, but I used to also play Search. I cut all the searches for this event. Like, I thought some of the decks I wanted them against, the grindier decks, I was going to board in the rest in pieces anyways. And I figured, like, look, I'm not going to have a great Sultai matchup, but my best thing I can do is Narset. So I just went up to 4 of those, and I tried to make them stick with Disputes and Vetoes. And that was my thing. So then day two, like I said, I start off 6-0. I don't remember all the game. First 2 rounds, one was against like Jund, one was against Goblins or Black Red or something. I just throttled them. Round 3, I see Luris in the companion zone. I'm pumped. Plays a Plains. He's playing that blue-white Auras deck. That match, he was down to like 3 minutes on his clock. I mean, I had a little bit more time, but it was a crazy 3-game match that, like, I was down to 1 for a long time. It took a lot out of me. It was like hour-long seesaw, but I was like, I wish I recorded that game. Like, I stream all these games, and I'm telling you, I don't think it affects me. There's no way in the world if I was streaming that game I would have won it. And looking at chat, and like, I had to be, everything I did had exactly, and still had to get lucky on some stuff. It was a wild match. So I took a little break after that or whatever. Ended up playing a blue-white deck. It was more set up against mine, but still like reasonable. I beat it. I think any deck like that's going to be bad matchup for me in general. I've got a lot of dead cards, so yeah, I think I beat a Goblins deck again or something. I don't know. So then 6-0, pretty excited. Taking a little break again. Just working nerves up. Just have to win one of the next 2. And I play against this blue-white deck. My God, he had main deck vetoes. He had 4 hieroglyphic illuminations main deck, a full 4 typhoons, a full 4 sensors. Like, he had searches. I mean, he still had some removal, but I don't have any idea. I wanted to see if they posted these lists because I just could not fathom. He had neutralize and absorb. I saw. I don't know how many of each, but I just couldn't see how he could fit it all. I'm like, what in the world? Like, how's this guy beating anyone except me? So I lose that, pretty dejected. Next round, I'm like, just give me something, that I'm supposed to beat, that I'm supposed to face, like Sultai. Guy played real good. He had good draws. I would like to think he wasn't the one that entered twice. I don't know. Game 1 is pretty good. Even though I have all these quote-unquote dead cards, they do have to kill me with damage. I do have Cage for the Uro that can definitely matter. And they don't play counter spells in the main deck. So I think, or Typhoons. So I think the main deck can figure it. Like, I won. It took forever, but I felt like, I have all these lands and stuff. I felt like it was just kind of under control. Mostly. Even if they draw a bunch of cards, what are they going to draw? Game 2, I mulligan. Thoughtseize. He goes Thoughtseize turn 1, Thoughtseize turn 2, Narset turn 3. We play a couple more turns. That's the game, you know. Game 3, I get a good hand. You know, I don't remember everything about it. A spot comes up where I can kind of tell what's going on, you know. I've got 4 mana untapped. I've got a Veto. I've got an Absorb. I've got a couple Teferis. And probably some other cards. He's got a pretty full hand. He goes for land 5, slams Nissa. And I just know he's got packed, you know. He's going to pack me. He's going to untap, pay for it, or whatever. So, you know, I veto it. So he kind of sits there for a while, pauses, like he's like, fuck, you know. My turn. It's Fairy. Naturally, he packs it. Now he's got to tap all his lands on his turn, you know. And when I get to play my next Teferi, I get to untap 2 lands and I have Absorb up. So sure enough, I go boom Teferi, play my land, draw, untap, Absorb up. Here you go, you know. And like his go is like, I think it was Maelstrom Ball, something that kills Teferi and counter back up. And I'd drawn like not much action, and I'm like, shit, you know. I'm sitting with like reactive stuff. Next turn, Krasis, you know, or whatever. Draw 2 cards. Like it just spirals out of control. Uro starts coming back. At one other point in the game, I thought I might have a chance. I don't remember exactly how, but you know, I thought when I landed that Teferi, like I thought I had him right where I wanted him, but it just seemed like he had like 2 cards in his hand the whole time, and he would draw one. You know, it was like the correct exact combo for the situation most every time. He played good. It was a tough loss to take, but it was a bad matchup, and it was what it was. I was kind of salty. I know people have asked me about this deck. Again, I wouldn't really recommend just taking this list and playing it. You know, like I say, I built it to try to beat 3 or 4 decks and hope to dodge the rest of them, but have some chance if I didn't. I think I did a pretty good job with that. And maybe I didn't need this many rest in peace because I really only brought them against 1 deck. You know, but it is what it is. I went on a 13-0 run at one point. I know people are going to be asking me about it today when I stream, like I say. So a little long-winded, kind of talking about nothing, but I got granted that invite. You know, this is the deck I use. Most people say this kind of, they you know, you hear a lot of blue-white's no good. So if you think blue-white's no good, then just think I'm real good, I guess, because I was able to win with it. And I'm usually able to do pretty good with these kind of decks. I think if you need to know what you're trying to beat and kind of skew it for that. This Kahira, I swear, like that I took it out when I played on the ladder the season before. I hardly ever cast it. Didn't do anything. For whatever reason, I cast this thing all the time now. Like, I don't know what changed. The decks are grindier. Like, at 3/2 matters. Like, you put this thing's trading with all their creatures. Like, I think it's really worth it to play this in that kind of a, if the meta stays anything like that. Before I thought it was junk, but now it came out a lot. Came into play quite a bit. So anyways, it's been longer than I thought it was going to be. Way longer. If you're into this kind of thing and you liked it, let me know. You know, also I'm certainly pretty happy right now about this all. I know I probably sound kind of monotone. I don't know. I'm just sitting in a room talking to myself. But that's that. Check me out on Twitch. Maybe I'll post more stuff like this in the future. Maybe playing the next Pro Tour or whatever it's called. So, holla at your boy.